I went over for the Giro de Rio, which was a great experience. Actually, it was the first time I've ever been to Colombia, and yeah, so it was a lot of fun, and just amazing the passion that the Colombians have for cycling. Certainly, I mean, cycling is just blown up over there. I mean, obviously they've got some pretty good bike riders to thank for I guess motivating and inspiring a lot of followers, but it's just incredible to have gone over there myself and to experience firsthand just how crazy they are for cycling. It was really quite eye-opening. People were just so friendly and so welcoming over there, and I almost imagine that maybe there'd be a certain level of animosity that, I mean, I'm the guy who's probably racing against Nairo Quintana, their hero, or Rigoberto Urán, or one of their other big champions, and I'm normally coming out on top. So I thought there might be some level of, I don't know, resentment towards me or something, that because I mean I could understand if they see me as the enemy. I'm always racing against their guys, but just I didn't feel 1 ounce of that sort of negativity or that kind of feeling. Everyone was just so super happy just to welcome me there and to celebrate cycling, really. Yeah, definitely. So I mean, I've always followed quite similar race programs over the last few years. So I mean, it's just a really nice opportunity for me to switch things up a little bit and go back over there, do something very different. I guess change the motivation for me, and I'm going to go and do a couple of weeks of altitude training out there before the race as well. So just something completely different and a new stimulus. Yeah, I love the kit design for next year. I think it's really classy, really subtle, but just really bold as well. It stands out, and obviously the partnership with Pass on Plastic and everything we're doing to try and save the oceans as well. I think that's a great initiative and something I'm quite proud to have on the kit. I'd say the easiest nickname is G. Saying Geraint every time, it's G. It's nice and easy. Weirdest is our Italian teammate Salvatore Puccio. I think everyone calls him Cappuccino. Certainly the rider who makes the days pass faster is Wout, for sure. I mean, he just never ceases to amaze you with the things he comes out with. Definitely, I mean, I think the equipment is a huge part of bike racing and a huge part of what we do. And I think number one, knowing how the equipment works, and number two, knowing where the limits are of the equipment and what limitations you have as well, can only help you be a better bike rider. I mean, sometimes there are situations you have to get yourself out of when the team car or mechanic aren't around, and I think I'm quite passionate about equipment and knowing exactly what's on my bike, basically. So it's something I look really carefully at, and I also, I mean, things like tire selection, gear choice. Obviously, everyone's seen that I use different chain rings to everyone else. It's all part of, yeah, I guess my love for the sport as well. One huge improvement that I really feel that my feedback has been heard with Castelli is the new Aero jersey. I think I've been feeding back that I would love to see a little bit more elasticity in the clothing, so it can be a bit more fitted and less rigid. Yeah, I've got to say I love the new Aero jersey. I think it's gone down as a big hit in the team now. I think the most fun race this year was probably the Tour of Britain. Even though I was in the worst shape of the season probably after the Tour de France, and having had a break already, I definitely wasn't in my best shape for the Tour of Britain this year, but it was the most fun just being back on British roads again, and having that level of support from the fan base. It was just incredible to see how many people you've affected and touched with the sport. And I think Sky as a sponsor can be hugely proud of how many people they've influenced with the brand and with the team. So that was probably the most enjoyable race of the year. Certainly the most memorable race for me this year was the Giro d'Italia, and more specifically the stage 19 Col de la Finestra, when I attacked and arrived in Barra del Necchia alone and over 3 minutes ahead of the guys behind. It was just that was something for me that I've never won a race in that kind of fashion, and I think every bike rider dreams of doing something a little bit crazy, and that was certainly, I mean, it was an all-in move. It was a very bold move. Definitely in poker terms you'd say that's going all in, and it was a huge risk. It could have gone the other way, and I could have got to the final climb and just had nothing left and lost everything, but I was really of the mindset that it's all or nothing now, and I had nothing to lose at that point. I was quite far down, and I had a huge deficit to make up, and I was feeling fantastic. So I just it felt like just being a kid on the bike, like just this is bike racing. You go and just go as hard as you can and try and hang on. I think having ridden those roads before in training and knowing that area, I'd done a few training camps around that area. I knew the roads, and I think also the support from the Italian public. I could feel a huge amount of warmth from the Italian public, and it was just a combination of all these things coming together, and it just felt like it was just an amazing day out on the bike. And every time I had a radio check and a time check, and I could hear the time gap growing more and more, and I was getting closer to getting myself into the virtual leader jersey. It just motivated me even more. ZONCOLAN was very different, and yeah, the ZONCOLAN was an effort where I just gave absolutely 110% of everything I had, and left me feeling completely wrecked the next day. But ZONCOLAN was a stage I'd picked out before the Giro d'Italia as a stage I really wanted to try and win and add to my palmares, being such a iconic climb. And certainly the last time I rode up ZONCOLAN in 2010, I hated it. I suffered so much, so it was nice to be able to change that feeling now, and yeah, definitely grown to enjoy it a bit more now. I thought Yates was just sort of sitting behind me, like pacing himself, and I thought at any second he's just going to come flying past me for the finish. He's just waiting. So it was just such an amazing feeling to get into that final stretch and just look around my shoulder, and he wasn't there, and I was like, yeah, cool, this is so worth it. I'd have to guess now because I can't really remember exactly, but I think I was riding 34, 32, I'd guess. 34.30 or 34.32, one of the two. So very light gear, and yeah, you never want to run out of gears on a steep climb like that. Yeah, objectives for next year. As much as I'd love to go back to the Giro, and I mean it's such an amazing race, I'd love to go back and defend my title there and try and win it again. But at the same time, I understand fully that it does take a lot out of you when you're trying to win the Giro and the Tour. I'm not saying it's impossible. I think it's certainly possible, but it makes it certainly harder going to the Tour de France, having done the Giro d'Italia beforehand. So I'm going to focus pretty much 100% on trying to win the Tour de France for a 5th time. Yeah, I think certainly going back to my early years as a teenager, it's, I think, where I really found that love for professional bike riding. I'd gone out training with David KINJAH, who was the captain of the Kenyan cycling team at the time, and we'd gone out on mountain bikes and taken me up into the highlands where they grow like tea and coffee. There's plantations, so all pretty much on dirt roads, and just beautiful scenery out there. I mean, it's all very natural, all very green. But I think it's where I fell in love with cycling, in the sense that David showed me that it's not about necessarily what you have, and I mean it was so unmaterialistic and so basic, but at the same time so enjoyable. And to me, it's what cycling's about. It gives you that freedom, it gives you that sense of being closer to nature, and it's a way of almost clearing the mind, and I'd say it can only be a good thing if you've got something you want to work through mentally, or you're stressed, you go for a bike ride and you just feel as if everything feels better now. And it was amazing experiencing that with KINJAH at the time, and I think that's where I really started to love cycling. And he'd take me on these rides where it'd take 7-8 hours of riding. We'd stop for lunch somewhere after 4 hours, 5 hours, and spend the rest of the day getting back home. And just these massive journeys on the bike and seeing parts of the country I'd never seen before was just an amazing experience for me. It's been a long time since I've been back, unfortunately. I went back after I won the Tour de France in 2013, but I haven't been back since. Obviously, having kids and everything else that's been on the schedule makes getting back to Kenya a lot harder. So I haven't been back in a long time, but I'm sure I'll be back. I think, yeah, as I grew up and carried on my studies down in South Africa, I went to university down there, and cycling was always like my number one passion. I had this huge hobby, which was cycling, but it was never really a profession or anything. My studies were always coming first at that time, and I think secretly I always had this sort of dream of I want to become a professional one day. But obviously, growing up there, and there just seemed no logical way for me to get to Europe and get to the professional peloton in Europe. So it did seem like a pipe dream at the time. So it was a miracle that I made it over to Europe. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things. I have a lot of new motivations now, and especially with 2 kids at home. I mean, I would love them to grow up and be proud of my legacy as well. So it's a whole different motivation for me right now. But I would say I'm even more motivated than before now. I mean, before I was young, I didn't really have much experience, and I wanted to win the biggest bike race in the world. Now I've done that 4 times. I've won 6 Grand Tours now, but I haven't lost that appetite. Like, I still feel as if I don't really think much about what I've done already. It's more about what I can still do, and I still feel like I've got a lot left to achieve in the sport.